Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Justice for All. Last we left off, Adrian Andrews decided to invoke her Fifth Amendment right to not testify. Remember, when someone invokes the Fifth Amendment, that means that what they say could possibly incriminate them in a crime. And the law protects you from providing testimony against yourself. I mean, you can confess if you want to, that's fine. That means you don't invoke the Fifth Amendment. But if you don't want to confess to a crime, or in this case, testify to something that would put you in a crime, you have a right to not testify. And now we're in a sticky situation because of that. Please wait, Your Honor. That's not necessary. The trial. Please continue the trial. What are you sweating for, Wright? Your client is getting one more day to live, isn't he? That's not it. This isn't about that. Edgeworth, I know you know who the real killer is. Please, let the trial continue. If I don't get the verdict, then my, But it's impossible to continue as long as the witness refuses to testify. Now then, this court is... It is not impossible for this trial to continue. Huh? Mr. Edgeworth, what are you... It's true Miss Andrews holds the right against self-incrimination. However, if the topic of conversation was something unrelated to whatever she may be guilty of, then she has no right to withhold testimony. Yes, that is very true, Mr. Edgeworth, but actually, there is one little thing that I'm curious about. Miss Andrews, when you found the victim's dead body, you poured yourself a glass of juice. Yes, and? I can't help but think how unnatural that is. Usually when one finds a body, they are shaken up, not stirring a glass of juice. So my actions were unusual, but I've already... Before you speak, I want you to state that if you have a reason behind your actions, I would like you to testify to that effect. Testify? Your Honor, I would like to request that the witness testify again as to what happened when she first discovered the victim's body. Whatever we find out in this testimony should in no way implicate the witness. I don't know what it is about Edgeworth today, but I can't get a good read off of him. Is he friend or foe? I just don't know. The court acknowledges the prosecution's request. Miss Andrews, if you please. That is true. If the testimony... when you're a lawyer, you can kind of tell where the requested testimony is going to go. So if you can shift it to a different question, the witness has no right to invoke the Fifth Amendment on that particular piece. That glass of juice, I didn't really pour it for myself. I was surprised when I walked into the room and saw it in that messy state. And Juan, he was sitting slumped over and tired looking in the corner. When I saw him sitting like that, the thought that he was dead did not cross my mind. To be honest, I thought he had just fainted or something, so I went to pour him some juice. When I realized he was dead, that's when I knocked the flower vase over. So you poured that glass of juice for the victim. Why didn't you say so in your earlier testimony? I didn't think I needed to include something so trivial. Phoenix, be careful here. If you can't find anything wrong with this testimony, then there's nothing left. I know. Edgeworth, just what the heck is going on in that brain of yours? Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination. That glass of juice, I didn't really pour it for myself. But there wasn't anyone else in the room, right? Of course not. Then who did you pour it for? Mr. Wright, There is a rhyme and reason for everything. Can you wait just a little longer for it to be revealed to you? In other words, Wright, be quiet and listen. Precisely. I couldn't have said it better myself. I was surprised when I walked into the room and saw it in that messy state. So, it was a mess. Oh my god. Are you sure it wasn't messy because of your fight with Mr. Corrida? I understand your frustrations in not being able to prove your theory, right? However, before you go accusing people of crimes, go find yourself some evidence. And then, what did you see next, witness? And Juan, he was just sitting there slumped over and tired looking in the corner. Slumped over? Yes, he was just sitting there with his head tilted forward, eyes closed. He really looked like he was sleeping. Is it just me, or did that right there sound a little odd? When I saw him sitting like that, the thought he was dead didn't cross my mind. Then what did cross your mind? I thought maybe he had smashed everything up in anger because he lost the Grand Prix, and then felt tired after his rampage, so he decided to take a nap. Anyways, that's what I thought. I see. So you didn't think he was dead at all? To be honest, I thought he had just fainted or something, so I went to pour him some juice. You thought he fainted? I thought he was asleep at first, but then the room was in such a messy state. I thought maybe he had gotten into a fight with someone. And that's when you went to pour the glass of juice? Yes, he always has a hard time waking up, so Juan always has a glass of tomato juice to drink. I see. And after that, what happened next? When I realized he was dead, that's when I knocked a flower vase over. And how did you come to realize that he was, in fact, dead? I shook him over and over, but I never got a response. So I set the glass down on the dresser and tried to take his pulse. I was shocked, and staggered backward. And knocked a flower vase over. That's what happened. Yes. This is what it all comes down to. Huh? This is the absolute end for both sides, and Adrian is letting her guard down. Phoenix, now is our best chance yet to kill the prosecution's case. Isn't that a bit harsh? Miss Andrews, will you tell us the truth this time? No, I already know what's weird. Right here. When I saw him sitting like that, the thought he was dead didn't cross my mind. Well, we're going under the theory that you are not the murderer, because that's what you're testifying into effect of having found the body. Not as a murderer, as a witness. If you are just a witness, what on God's green earth would make you think... Where's the picture? Okay. What on God's green earth would make you think that this wonderful Gatewater knife sticking out of his chest is normal? That does not look like he's asleep. That looks like he's been stabbed. Like, stabbed. Stab, lady. He's not fine. So, you honestly didn't think he was dead when you found him? No, not at all. Even though this is what you saw when you first discovered the body? What is the meaning of this? Isn't it obvious, Your Honor? There's a knife sticking straight out of Mr. Corrida's chest. Anyone who saw this scene would have immediately thought that here was a dead man. Well, you see, I doubt a single person in the world would mistake this for someone who simply fainted, and then so nonchalantly go pour something to drink. Your point is, Miss Andrews, your testimony just now was all one giant lie. And your lie has proven one thing very clearly. That you are the real killer. No! That kind of morphed into a wolf howl there for some reason. Oh dear. Well, it looks like the defense has somehow brought the ugly truth to light. The defendant, Mr. Matt Ungard, is not guilty after all.
But that's impossible. You're wrong.
Miss Andrews, try to have some composure.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me, I tell you. It was Matt. I swear it. He's the one who killed Juan.
But you were the one who refused to testify, and your reason for not doing so was that you might end up incriminating yourself.
That's because...
Miss Andrews, I will give you one last chance. What exactly are you hiding that may incriminate you?
I refuse to testify.
Then there is no need for this court to continue any further. Mr. Matt Ungard's innocence has been clearly demonstrated.
Is it over? Have we found the truth at last? What's wrong, Phoenix?
Usually the real killer confesses his or her guilt.
And now that I think about it, this is the first time someone hasn't.
Now then, I would like to hand down my verdict for Mr. Matt Ungard. Your Honor, the prosecution feels that it would be premature to pass down a verdict at this time. What? The reason is quite simple. This witness has yet to speak the absolute real truth.
He's talking about what she refuses to testify about.
The absolute real truth? What are you? Witness, don't you understand yet?
Huh?
I don't know who planted this silly idea in your head, but as long as you protect yourself through your silence, Matt Ungard will go free, and in his place, you will become the guilty party.
That's a lie. I don't believe you.
What?
I was told that if I spoke, then it would be all over, and Matt would never be declared guilty.
What in the world is she talking about? Has she lost it?
I can't speak about it. I'm too scared. It's Franziska von Karma.
Huh?
Don't you remember, Phoenix? Miss Andrews lives by gripping tightly onto the words of another, because she doesn't have the strength to believe in herself.
Then right now, you're saying that right now Miss Andrews is...
Yesterday, she was tossed a lifesaver by Miss von Karma. Don't say a word, no matter what happens. If you do, Matt Ungard will be acquitted. Miss Andrews undyingly believes in those words right now, and is clinging onto them.
Then what should we do?
This is the first time I've ever come across anything like this. But Miss Andrews has to be the killer, right? All we have to do now is get our not guilty verdict. That is my only priority. It wasn't me. I'm begging you, please believe me. I didn't kill Juan. Help. Please. Someone. Help me.
Mr. Wright.
Yes, Your Honor?
The court can't continue on like this. Therefore, I'd like to hear what you intend to do.
What I intend to do? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to say here?
Right. I suggest you think very carefully about this. Think about what this witness did, and what she did not do. And think about who is the real mastermind behind this case.
Who the real mastermind is? Well, isn't that obvious? There's no one else it could be except for the woman crying over there. Right?
Come now, Wright. What will you do? What kind of man are you?
She's refusing to testify. That is the truth. And she's under the belief that what she's hiding to protect herself will ensure Matt is found guilty. But she is so persuaded by von Karma's words that she doesn't notice that she's about to be convicted for murder. Remember what I said earlier, I think a couple episodes ago, that I don't know if she murdered Juan. I mean, there's enough evidence to say that she kinda, like, did the whole secret, hidey, run away from the scene of the crime thing, but that does not really say she murdered him. Yes, she had the knife. She had access to Matt's knife, and could have stabbed it into Juan. But I feel like she did it after he was dead, because again, Juan's a big guy. She's very small and demure. I really doubt that she'd be able to strangle Juan unless Juan was somehow had an extremely unlucky something going on and was free to be strangled. So I don't think that she is guilty of murdering him. I want to hear what she has to say. Even if she continues to invoke her Fifth Amendment right, I'm sure Edgeworth will find a way to work around it. I have to win a complete acquittal today. There's no way around that. But I can't bring myself to do it like this. Not when she's making a face like that. Miss Andrews, I would like to know what you are really hiding. Mr. Wright, are you sure you know what you're doing? Sure, Mr. Ungar will get an acquittal, but in his place, you'll be found guilty. Is this how you really want this trial to end? Be quiet. How dare you? You tried to trick me.
That's enough. I commend you for trying, Mr. Edgeworth. However, it's clear that the defense's theory is the truth.
You're wrong.
What a shame.
Huh?
I had hoped things wouldn't come to this. However, what is it, Mr. Edgeworth? Miss Andrews, since you absolutely refuse to testify, it falls to my shoulders to disclose this to the court.
Stop!
Mr. Edgeworth? This witness. Now, how shall I put this? She has an illness.
What?
And because of this illness, she has tried to commit suicide in the past.
Stop! But please, stop!
No matter how much you want to hide it, it's no use. I have the evidence right here. That's the second part of the suicide report. The attempted suicide. What will you do now, witness? You know what I'm about to do, don't you? I will now reveal to the court the true nature of the pitiful woman known as Miss Adrian Andrews. The secret of her dependent nature. I mean, other people know about it scares her more than anything else in the world.
Please stop! I beg you! If people found out, if they found out, I'll...
If you're going to say you would choose death, that's of no concern to me.
Edgeworth, how can you be so cold?
However, before you die, I will pull the truth from your still breathing lips, no matter what I have to do. So, will you tell the court yourself, or shall I? Either is fine with me.
I'll talk. But please, help me. Nothing matters anymore.
She is wow. Wow. That's right. She is a defeated woman. There is no way around it. She is a defeated woman. Oh boy, Edgeworth. I think you might have broken the witness beyond repair. I'm quite honest here. Oh, Edgeworth, I hope you did not drive her to suicide later.
When I first saw him, I really thought he had fainted, honest. When I realized he was dead, that's when I formulated my plan. Once I made sure there was no one in the hallway, I made a dash back to Matt's room. And then, I stabbed Juan's dead body with a knife and ripped off the button. Just when I finished and was returning to Matt's room, I had a bit of an inconvenience. And that's why I ended up using the nickel samurai costume.
You stabbed the body with a knife? But why would you do that?
Well, isn't it obvious? To pin the blame on a certain person. A certain cowardly man.
What do you mean by all of this? It might take this court a little while to understand, but this is the truth.
The real killer is Matt! That scumbag of a man! I'll never forgive him! He's trying to escape his guilt again, just like last time!
Last time? So, Miss Andrews stabbed the victim, one corrida, in the chest with a knife. However, she didn't do it with murder in mind. She did it with the intent of framing Matt Ungard for the murder. And this is her crime. Desecrating the body and messing with the crime scene.
What? How is it possible? I mean, wasn't Miss Andrews supposed to be the real murderer?
Mr. Wright, please get over your shock and commence the cross-examination.
Great. So she did have something to hide. She was hiding a crime. That she tampered with the crime scene. So she did have a right to invoke the Fifth Amendment. Yeah, she wasn't hiding the fact she was a murderer. That's just like I thought. When I first saw him, I really thought he had fainted, honest.
But you could tell from the state the room was in that there must have been a fight. And you're telling the truth when you say you did not know he was dead?
He had a scarf tied around his neck, but that scarf is a part of the German ninja's costume, so I really didn't think anything about it was strange. His head was also tilted down a bit, so I couldn't see his face that well. That's why I thought I'd wake him up and went to pour the juice. When I realized he was dead, that's when I formulated my plan.
What is this plan you had?
I knew right away the murderer was Matt. I knew because, one, he was going to expose Matt's weakest weak point to the world. So Matt did this to stop Juan and silence him for good. That's when I thought I should forge some evidence and pin this crime on Matt.
So the forged pieces of evidence were the knife and the button.
First thing that came to mind was to plant the knife. Once I made sure there was no one in the hallway, I made a dash back to Matt's room.
That was so you could get the knife, correct?
The knife Matt used at dinner had his fingerprints all over it. I thought if I used that, then the police would certainly turn their eyes towards him. Matt was napping with his costume on at the time. I slipped in, took the knife, and returned it to the scene of the crime. And then, I stabbed Juan's dead body with it, and ripped off the button.
So you were the one to stab the victim with that knife?
It gives me goosebumps to think about it now. What a horrible thing I did. But at the time, I couldn't control my own body. It moved on its own. Then, when I stabbed Juan's dead body, I suddenly realized something. If I used the button somehow, I could make Matt look even more suspect.
So you thought to rip one of the buttons off and then plant it in Mr. Ungard's hakama?
Yes, that's what I had planned to do. But things never go that smoothly, do they? Just when I finished and was returning to Matt's room, I had a bit of an inconvenience.
An inconvenience?
There was a woman with a camera at the ready, loitering in the hallway.
I'm willing to bet my spikes it was Lotta.
There was also a woman with a ray gun at the ready, pacing back and forth.
Now that's Miss Oldbag for you.
I had already been caught and made it into a big scoop for a certain weekly tabloid once, so I couldn't very well go out looking like myself and get caught again. And that's why I ended up using the nickel samurai costume.
You were the one who prepared that costume, weren't you?
Yes, I took it from Global Studios. I also put it into Juan's guitar case the day before the awards ceremony.
You did this in preparation for the press conference, correct?
Yes, Juan wanted to wear that costume and hold a press conference in it. He was going to disclose Matt's biggest secret there.
And what was this big secret?
That I don't know. Anyway, I thought that if I were to leave Juan's room in the Nickel Samurai costume, then people would think Matt was the real murderer. I was very careful not to leave any fingerprints when I opened the guitar case. I absolutely did not want anyone to know about the costume.
I think we've heard enough. So after that, you went back to Mr. Ungard's room and planted the button.
Into Matt's Hakama? Yes. After that, I folded up the costume I was wearing and put it into a bag. Then I snuck it out of the hotel and got rid of it.
My word! What does this all mean?
Mr. Edgeworth, is it? The real criminal. It's Matt Ungard. Yesterday, that woman prosecutor sat me down for a talk.
Francisca, huh?
She said that I should, under no circumstances, confess to what I had done. That if I just kept quiet, then Matt would be found guilty for sure. I had no choice but to believe in her words.
What this witness has done is clearly unlawful. However, as long as her testimony stands, we can be certain she is not the real killer.
Wait, Your Honor! The defense did...
Right. It's pointless. At this point in time, it's not possible to indict Miss Andrews on anything. Yes, exactly. There isn't a single piece of evidence pointing to her as the murderer. The cross-examination of this witness is over, and so is today's trial. You couldn't establish that the witness was the culprit. Please let it go, Mr. Wright.
But...
Mr. Edgeworth, please place Miss Andrews under arrest for further questioning. Understood, Your Honor. The prosecution will arrange for her detention immediately. That is all. Court is adjourned for today. No guilty verdict. Oh, dear lords, help us. That's not good.
Today's trial? It's over? And I didn't win an acquittal.
Witness, would you mind if I asked you something?
Huh? Edgeworth? What is it?
Before you leave court today, I wondered if I might look at one thing. The card in your hand. It's had my interest for quite some time now. What exactly is it?
Oh, this? Mr. Wright also asked about this. Although I didn't remember at the time you asked me about it, Mr. Wright, I remember just now. I found this in the room on that day.
The room? That day?
Yes. I found this card when I discovered Juan's body. It was lying there right next to him.
You found that card next to the victim's body?
I suppose I must have unconsciously slipped it into my pocket. But it's not as if this card has any relevance to Juan's murder, right?
Yeah, I guess not, but it's still a strange card if you ask me. But as far as a clue to this case, I don't see why... Witness! That card! Give it to me! Hurry! Edgeworth? Do you have any idea what you have stupidly, yet inadvertently done? This... I can't believe you hid this from me all this time!
I didn't mean to! What is this all about?
I've never seen Edgeworth so emotional before. That card? What in the world is it? And what does it mean? Clearly it means something. Like, what the heck does that card mean? Well, we'll find out in the next episode, I'm sure. Right now, we're just gonna save and say goodbye. Ooh, that was a little bit of an emotional thing here. Her real crime was not murdering the body. but rather desecrating the corpse and messing with the scene of the crime, which in itself is a punishable offense. It's not murder, but yeah, so she did have a right to invoke the Fifth Amendment. And we had no evidence to debunk her confession of that. So, unfortunately, it stands. Well, we'll figure out what to do in the next episode. Right now, we need to pray to God that Maya's still alive, and oh, God help us. Later, everyone.